will be expelled again. Heil Hitler, Jew! Heil Hitler!
Shalom to Rabbi Yosef Konikov, Chabad rabbi in Orlando, Florida.
Shalom. Good afternoon here in Orlando.
So tell us about your confrontation with anti-Semitic protesters outside of the Chabad home.
Yeah, I mean, it was scary because the way the people were talking, it would be exactly how I would expect, the Nazis in Nazi Germany to speak. The venom in their eyes and the hate in every word, that's coming out of their mouths. And there was also a lot of passion and it was quite scary. And they were looking to either trigger someone in order to get into it. It looked like they wanted to get into a fight, basically. It's not like the kind of person that's just standing there demonstrating with a sign, has some agenda. These guys were on attack mode, even though they were testing the limits of free speech in the United States.
So was it scary?
Yeah, it was scary. I mean, listen, as a Chabad rabbi, we don't use the word scary so much, but for the people in the community, it was quite scary for them. There were people that didn't want to come to shul afterwards. There were people that were even afraid to sleep at home because they thought, who knows, maybe these guys, have the list of Jewish people in the neighborhood. I mean, to that degree, it was quite scary for people.
We hear about the increase in anti-Semitism throughout the world. How do you look at this incident as part of that phenomena?
I think what we're seeing here, particularly in these kind of groups, is that they figured out a way to do something with the chutzpah, to be brazen, and no one will say anything to them. No one will stop them, and they have their own following. So they're trying to create a trend and trying to make this idea as normal. When you see people yelling that you are the enemy of America, and no one even blinks an eye, the cops don't come by and say, please stand back, go somewhere else, or no restrictions whatsoever.
The police were there and they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything whatsoever. Now, it was all based on the idea of free speech, was why they didn't engage with them. But they really should have. I think it's a mistake, and I think the government is realizing it's a mistake now that this has gone viral and people have challenged the government and said, you seriously going to allow this to go on? It's only going to get worse. And then when they heard and saw the things that were on the video, I think they thought twice. They started to think twice. And I believe something will be done the next time.
By the way, what do you answer someone who may say that it's just one marginal group and they shouldn't cause concern?
So first of all, this is one group, but there are some other groups out there. That's number one. Number two is the real concern is not so much these guys. They're basically losers, They don't have jobs, and maybe someone's paying them to do this, and they're clearly a bit psycho when you see how they talk and you look at their history. You see that they're troubled people that were probably abused or something when they were younger. They were lacking some basic familial conditions that normal people have. But that's not really the biggest worry. The biggest concern is that there are other crazy people out there that never realized that this could be, that you could do this kind of stuff, and they don't understand the legalities of free speech, and then they act on something crazier. And the truth is that in California, there was a shooting just a few weeks ago, and the man that shot another two Jews in front of a synagogue, he was a follower of this group. To what degree, we're not sure. We do know that he had shared information about flyers that this group had given out. So that's a concern. And I think that if we don't stand up, when I say we, I mean the government doesn't stand up and scare the people that are watching these groups, then we could get into problems. But if the government stands up and doesn't just talk about it behind closed doors, but they come out and they say, listen, I'm warning you, you better watch yourself because we're watching you, then then people may be afraid to act. But if they say nothing, then we have a problem. It's like you have children in a classroom, and or in a school, and the kids are doing crazy stuff. They're throwing things around, and some kids may say, "Oh, what you're doing is terrible," but until the teacher gets up and starts to warn the other students, then the students will copy them. So that's I think that's very important.
Why is it taking time? We know that there's a good relation with the Governor DeSantis and others.
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I don't really have the full answer of why they didn't come out. Perhaps because they don't want to give them attention. That's one, one shita, one philosophy. Perhaps because they're busy working on something much deeper, which is real legal plan of how they're going to go about getting rid of these guys. And I know that they are. I was in touch with the governor's office. I was in touch with senators and congressmen in Florida, other law enforcement, and they clearly have all said that they're working with their attorneys to find out what could be done. So there's something in the works. The only concern that people have, and this is a real concern, is that perhaps they don't know. I mean, I don't believe in this conspiracy necessarily, but I'll tell you what's out there. And that is that people are concerned that maybe even government officials don't know how many people really hate Jews and how many radicals there really are, extremists there are out there, and they don't want to come out against, these kind of groups in public. And that would be very sad if there's any truth to that. I don't really believe it, but I'm just telling you that's what people are saying.
Okay, so let's end with a few words about your activity, your community. The Festival of Purim is coming.
Yes, it's interesting. One thing is that, I told people here that the impact that these groups, or this group particularly, tried to make, they didn't really accomplish that result that they wanted. They wanted to scare the Jewish community. Yeah, they scared some people here and there, but they actually strengthened the community. So people came out, random people that haven't walked into shul ever, have come by and said, "Listen, I want to come daven with you. I want to pray with you." Some friends from the conservative and reform synagogue said, "I want to come and see what davening is like, at Chabad." So that was amazing. I mean, they felt that it's us, and we need to become a little bit more Jewish, and we need to get involved and support more. And the same as with the Goyim. Goyim also came out. You may have heard on last Shabbos morning. There was about 20, 30 guys over a period of a couple of hours. They came out with signs. We love the Jewish community. We support you. People were saying we support Israel, and you're not our enemy, and we're with you. So it actually really generated a lot of support. So I told people that when it comes to Purim in the community, we have to celebrate Purim. But we're reminded of the beauty of who we are as a nation from stories like Purim, and we need to be united and celebrate how we are relieved, or how we were saved from these kind of crazies, like the descendants of Haman that we saw outside of our Chabad house, and b'chol davadar, oimdim aleinu l'chalotenu. So we need to celebrate what we have and who we are.
Rabbi Yosef Konikov, Chabad Rabbi in Orlando, Florida. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, and hatzlacha to you and to all your listeners and to all Am Yisrael.